good. So what I'll do is actually, while we're waiting for the last couple of people, I'll just go ahead and get started and give you guys a bit of a background on our guest speaker tonight. His name is Raul Villacis. He is the creator of the Next Level Experience, which is the shirt you see me wearing, and him as well. And also the founder of The Edge, which is a leadership and business mastermind for entrepreneurs. And I've been a part of it for 3 years. One of the best decisions I've made in my life, has really helped me to grow and process things as a top thinker and as someone who actually wants to excel with their life. I actually came into it thinking it was just going to be about business, thinking I was going to be coming into a business mastermind just to help my business out. But what it turned out to be was actually a program that really focuses on growing you as a king and expanding you and your consciousness so that everything you do, including your business, ends up improving. It's been really great. So it's for men, but for the women on this line, if you are interested in a mentoring program, his wife also does a program as well. Her name is Vivian. My wife is a part of that program, and it's excellent. And if you guys have any questions, you can ask her about that. I'm going to be asking Raul a couple of questions this evening, and he's got a presentation for us as well in regards, he can tell you about his experience and the thing he's been through. So Raul, just to give you a primer on the group here, this is called C.O.I.N, which stands for Creative Opportunity Investment Network. And what we are is a network of people who are trying to integrate more digital finance into our lives by learning more about cryptocurrency, DeFi, investment in general. But the idea is not just to make money. What I'm really trying to do is make sure that people can change their mind state about money and how they feel about investment in general. I've had people that want to kind of just come in and maybe just put money into the program, but not really learn the ideas. And I kind of shun that. I want to make sure that people come here and get fed with information that they can take and also give to other people as well. So it started off as me trying to make sure I can educate a lot of people here, but what it's turned into is all of my members are actually educating me, which has been really great. We have people here that are pretty experienced, all the way to people who are brand new to this as well. So as you know, we've created the website and we're expanding as we go. We're about a month in right now, but we're creating more curriculum so that people can understand this. So what I've told them is that every 2 to 3 weeks, I would like to have a professional come in like yourself that can give us more insight and background into the world of investment, the world of money, leadership, and things like that in general. So I do have a couple of questions for you before you get started. Actually, maybe you can introduce yourself to us and kind of tell us who you are.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, brother. I appreciate that. And you're definitely a pillar in the organization, the Next Level Experience. So I appreciate you having me here in this group. And I see some familiar faces. I see you, Queen, there. How you doing? How are you? I always love to see you shining and smiling. For those who guys who don't know me, my name is Raul Villacis. I've been in the real estate business for the past 20 plus years. I started this personal development / leadership training about 6 years ago when I went through I would say like a midlife crisis back in 2008 when the market crashed. I lost millions of dollars. So I'm familiar with investing. I'm familiar with risking. I'm putting everything on the line. Sometimes we take a lot of risks, and it's out of our hands what happens to the market. And when the market hits us and punches in the face, that's when we really need to know how are we going to adapt to those changes. So what happened to me is I lost millions of dollars. I went through a crisis, I would say for about a year after I lost all that money. But my wife and I, we came back strong, and we rebuilt our business. But I didn't have my midlife crisis until I rebuilt my business. And that's when I realized that money and investing in money is not everything, because I forgot to invest in myself. I was putting so much into my business. I was putting so much into my company that I stopped investing in myself. I stopped what I call feeding the king. And little by little, I started going to this path of self-destruction, drinking every single day, sabotaging my business, sabotaging my relationship, that I felt like I was depressed. And it took me some time for me to get some help. I went to meditation retreats in India. I traveled all over the world trying to find what was wrong with me, because as a man, sometimes we don't want to ask for help. We think we're weak if we don't feel the certainty. We feel that we're weak if we don't know the path that we're gonna go to. So that started manifesting into physical pain. I actually I thought I had cancer. I thought I was sick, but all the doctors said it was all in my head. It was stress. That's the moment I realized that I needed to figure my shit out. I needed to figure out what was the stress, and I went through my journey. And after I came out of my journey, a lot of men that I did business with started asking me, Raul, what did you do? What were some of the processes that you learned in India with all these gurus? So that's when I started to teach and have certain seminars to be able to help men, and that evolved into a mastermind, then evolved into an event, and evolved now into a community of leaders that we have here in the Next Level Experience. So that's what I do in a nutshell, Carrie.
Thank you, thank you. So you mentioned that you said you built it, you lost it, and you rebuilt it again. Knowing what you know now, would you go back and do anything different? And if so, what would that be?
Well, knowing what I know now, and that's what I wanted to. I was excited to talk to this group because I know that you guys are starting an investment in an investment world, right? And I think that everyone should have an investment strategy, no matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have. I think that back in the days, investment was for people who were just wealthy, right? Investment was just for people who had a lot of money, and I know see you guys. I'm coming from a family that never had a lot. My parents were immigrants, came into this country, so a lot of you guys to relate to the fact that in our community, in our culture, they don't teach us how to manage money. They teach us how to get into debt, but they're not teaching us how to manage money. So I had to begin to learn. I was the first entrepreneur in my family that that started a business, and I was also the youngest uh, uh, person in my family to actually buy a house. My first investment, I was 21 years old, and I bought a house. I remember I was um, I was in my job, and my brother actually had the same had a similar job than me, and both of us were trying to figure out how to make money, right? And we came across this opportunity. It was network marketing. I don't know if you know the story, Carrie. I was in network marketing. I was in Amway back when I was 19 years old.
Oh man.
And what happened with that is that Amway or network marketing allowed me to start seeing the power of proximity. So now I'm this 19, 20-year-old guy, and going to these meetings. Back in the days, it was hotel meetings. I don't know what they do now, but it's hotel meetings, and they used to talk about the dream. They used to spin the dream and the dream and the dream, and so I was such a young guy at that moment that I started believing, what's possible. What can I do if I have a dream, right? But I couldn't relate to anybody in my family because my family, all they knew was work hard, get an education, and eventually you're gonna make it. But these people were talking about investing in yourself, investing in people, creating a culture, creating a community. So we bought into that dream as a young couple because my wife was in it with me, and then they introduced us into books and tapes back in those days, reading and introducing us into books, self-development. I didn't know what personal development was, but that got me into the path of learning about positive thinking, learning about manifesting. So I came across this book that changed my life was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mhm.
And Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about the four quadrants, the employee, the self-employed, the business owner, and eventually the investor. And I looked at that simple framework and I said, well, that's the path. I knew how to become a good employee. I was an amazing employee. Every single job that I had, maybe you wanted to keep me. They never wanted to lose me. But at the end, I knew that as an employee, I could only reach a certain path. Then when I became self-employed, I realized that I know how to make money. Money's not an issue. I know how to make money, but how can I become a business owner? How can I own my business? And then when I became a business owner, I realized I needed to become an investor because I didn't want to, I didn't want to work every single time as a business owner. So the investment side was always in my mind. So my first investment was in real estate. And in that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about cash flow investments. And I want you guys to write this down because this in any investment that you have to make, you need to make sure that you have cash flow, that you have an opportunity to to uh, to generate cash out of your business. I was telling Carrie the other day when we had Mastermind, I said, right now in the real estate market, we're at the peak of the market. But real estate the interest rates have never been at an all-time low. Never in history have the interest rates been this low. So it doesn't pretty much make sense for you to buy a real estate property if you're paying a lot of money for it. But it makes sense if you're going to borrow against the bank. So if I have cash, if I'm buying a property cash, maybe it doesn't make sense. But if I'm borrowing against the bank and with the interest rates, it makes a lot of sense because now it's costing me less money to borrow the money, right? So when it comes to cash flow, you have to ask yourself, what's the potential for this investment? How much is this investment generating every single year, every single month, or every single week? So when I started in real estate, Gary, I bought a multifamily. My first house was a multifamily. And I remember that my wife and I, we lived in a small apartment and we rented the entire house out so we could pay for the mortgage. And that's how we began. That's how we started, really having a cash flow. So then you look at your expenses, how much money you're spending, you're looking at your income, and what you're trying to do the first time that you invest, you're trying to figure out how much of that money that I'm making, because here's the reality. A lot of us, we say we don't have money to invest, okay? But that's a lie. The reality is if you have a bill, all of a sudden somebody tells you, here's a bill you have to pay, you're gonna figure it out. Especially coming from my culture, the Spanish community, man, we'll figure things out real quick. Like I call my mother like a magician because she raised three kids, with like three jobs, and there was always enough money, always enough food in the table, right? I don't know how she did it, but we have to figure out if we could take it out from the top, like get disciplined, take money from the top, from your paycheck, take 10% out of the top, and doesn't matter how much it is, put it away in an investment, put it away somewhere else so you could start generating either cash flow or dividends, or it starts to increase in the investment.
Awesome, awesome. So I have a question. So over time, you've seen a lot and worked with a lot of different, people on multiple levels, millionaires, billionaires, you name it. What would you say is a common trait that you see amongst all of them that maybe is a similar thing?
The risk factor. What makes a difference between guys who or people who make a lot of money, have a big business, is number one is the capacity to take risks. Number two, the ability to to detach themselves from the outcome
Hmm.
and stay focused on the long-term path. I met a lot of people in real estate that had a lot of money, and I met a lot of people in real estate that lost a lot of money. And I always wonder what made the guy, because I was around those guys who had a lot of money and lost it. So I will say, out of all my peer group, I probably was one of the only ones who I know that actually made it back. A lot of people, were not at the capacity to be able to rebuild, or when they rebuilt, it wasn't ever as good as they had it because, their mental capacity wasn't there. Like it's kind of like when you go into a fight and you get punched in the face, you realize, oh shit, I'm not a fighter. So let me just get out of the ring, right? If you and if the professional boxers or the MMA fighters, they get punched in the face and they get stronger. They lose a fight and they come back stronger. The winners are always going to come back stronger because they're going to learn the lessons, and they know it's a long-term play versus a short-term gain. Now, there's some times that you're going to have to make a play short-term, but never forget the long-term play. I call it the pull and the push.
So what do you mean by the pull and the push? Can you explain that a little bit?
The pull has to be the vision that's going to pull you. Like the pull is going to have like, why are you investing? Why do you want to do this? Right? That's the long-term vision. The push is going to be, I need to start pushing the discipline. Right? A lot of people live on the pull. Like, oh, I want to do this. I want to have this, but then they don't have the push necessary every single time to be able to invest or to get discipline, because it's an investment. It's a discipline. What's the difference between guys who are fit versus guys who are not fit, right? It's a discipline. What's the difference between the guy who's good at his job and the guy who's not good at his job? It's a discipline to build mastery, right? So investment is just a discipline. And the moment that you lose money, not to get emotionally attached, a really good book that I could recommend is Ray Dalio's book that talks about them. I don't remember the name, but the latest Ray Dalio's book. Ray Dalio is an investment wealth manager. I mean, the guy handles one of the biggest hedge funds out there in the world, and he's very, very strict about discipline, about habits, about mindset, about not making moves emotionally on the market and allowing the market to play out. So that's one thing. And the second thing, when it comes to investment, you always have to follow the money. You always have to follow the money, not necessarily follow all the ideas. Follow the money. Where do you see the trends? Where's the money going? When you start looking at, the biggest mistake that I did when it comes to, I don't know if we're gonna get into cryptocurrency, Carrie, or not later on,
Yeah,
but I
sure.
may, I wasn't advised back in 2009 by some of the guys who a very smart group of guys that graduated from Harvard. We had a mastermind, and it was a tech mastermind. And there was a guy who stood up there and said, "Hey, Raul," and then just Raul, everybody who's there, "Hey, invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is gonna hit." Bitcoin was about, I think, a dollar at that point, a dollar 30. Bitcoin's gonna hit. So we're like, okay, great. Like, I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but he talked about the chain, the blockchain. So he made a presentation that didn't make a lot of sense, but it was really well thought out. And because these guys were very smart, we trusted them, right? So we actually created a group, and I had some money that was gonna invest, and I was gonna put $100,000 in Bitcoin. But at that point, I was scheduled to be at an event, at a Tony Robbins event. He calls it a financial advisor, financial summit, right? So he had a couple of billionaires on the stage, and experts. And I remember there was an expert in currency. He was talking about the yen in that moment in 2010. There was speculation that the yen was going to blow up. That the yen was, you invest in the yen, you're gonna 10x, 100x your investment. So he was talking about the yen, and I raised my hand. And I said, "Hey, have you heard about cryptocurrency? Have you heard about Bitcoin?" And that guy looked at me like I had three heads. He pretty much said, "Look, that's that's a scam. That's never gonna go anywhere." And I felt so small in that group that I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I even asked about this. Or you like, "What are you talking about? That's like monopoly, right? The monopoly money that doesn't exist, right?" So I took that money that I was gonna invest in there, and I invested in real estate. I didn't invest in Bitcoin. But now where Bitcoin has ended up. So I did get into Bitcoin though later on. I did buy in when it was 1,500. Bought some Bitcoin when it was 1,500, and I bought again at 3,000. I bought 5,000. So I've been buying Bitcoin ever since then. But one of the things that I realized is that even the smartest people right now, they might not get they might not get it. So the rules change because even Ray Dalio right now, which I'm saying that he's one of the smartest guys in investment. Even Ray Dalio is saying maybe Bitcoin is not it. Maybe Bitcoin is not the right path. So with that said, you gotta just start following uh, where the trends are, and at the same time making smart decisions, not emotional decisions.
Right, right. So you spoke a lot about discipline, and I really appreciate that because one of the things in one of the intro videos that I told people here is that if you're more into gambling and not into the long-term game, then this program probably isn't for you. I didn't want people to come in and think that it's going to be a get-rich-quick scheme or anything like that. So in regards to discipline, I have a question for you. What does your average day look like? Like, are you practicing discipline all day? Like what does your day look like?
I'm one of the guys who I hate structure. I don't like to be structured. Like I always talk about, like, I don't like presentations that are like in PowerPoint or like structure things. I like to be free. But I am the most structured guy when it comes to my day. Like I'm like I have a structure. I think without that structure, I wouldn't be able to do half the things that I do. Number one is I get myself a daily ritual that gets me to reset and recharge my mind and my body. And if you're getting up out of your bed and you're reacting to life or reacting to the news, reacting to whatever's going on, you're always going to be reacting, and every day is going to be the same. I choose every single morning to reset my mind and to really start the day with intention. Really start the day with, okay, what are the three musts? I look at my three musts, and I simplify my three musts. And number one is I must create an impact, right? What am I doing to be able to create an impact? The second one is I must expand my business and my life. I'm looking at what do I need to do in order for me to expand. And number three is I must create connections with my family and with my loved ones, right? So now with those three musts, I narrow it down to like, what are the activities? The activities in my business. Number one, activities. I need to see how can I leverage my business so I can be able to stack more of a revenue. So I'm looking for what am I missing? Where's the money going that I'm not seeing? How can I create more value so I could create more revenue? Number two is, what's the culture? Who's in my team? Who's in my company? Who's my surrounding? How can I impact people around me within the business? And I start looking at the structure, Carrie, the same thing with the quadrant: marketing, sales, systems, and culture. So that's where I do my business. Every single day I'm looking at those four things. What needs to be paid attention to. And then I start looking at during the day, where's my energy going? Money is energy. I look at everything as energy. So if I start seeing the activities that I'm doing are draining my energy, I start asking myself, okay, is this activity because I have to? Do I feel like doing it, or is it serving me a purpose? Because sometimes we have to do the things that we don't want to do.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, if we are constantly seeing ourselves that we're not happy doing things over and over again, then we might have to change a job, change a career, change like it's insanity for you to bitch and complain about things that you're doing and not wanting to do something about it,
Right.
right? Like we live in a country that we have so much opportunity, but sometimes we feel that we're stuck. We're stuck in this place, but the reality is that we are choosing by staying stuck if we're not choosing to become better or to learn a new craft or to do something about a situation.
That's awesome, man. So I have a question. So you're well off right now. You've done very well for yourself. If you were to take all that away and say you had a regular 9 to 5 right now, let's say you're making 100 grand or something, what would you do right now to try to work your way back up to millionaire status?
So here's one thing: you can't teach hunger. So I never think of myself like I am there, or I never think like, oh, we are cruising. I always get up with a mindset of like, I would scarcity is the mother of all innovation. So before, every time that I felt like, oh man, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough this, then my back was against the wall, I will always figure things out. That was a pattern that I realized. Like I'm always gonna figure things out. But I realized, why do I have to wait until the gun is in my head for me to react? Why do I have
Mm,
to wait until like I don't have the money in the bank for me to go there and make it happen? So now I purposely do it. I purposely put myself in a situation where I need to make sure that there is urgency around it. I believe that a lot of people don't feel the urgency because they're comfortable, right? And even you're comfortable at a certain level. You're comfortable in every level you find comfort. So what I do to put myself out of that situation, Kerry, is really push myself. Is like, what's the what situation that I need to where am I comfortable and what do I need to break through? So if every single day is the same thing, whether you have a nine to five or we have a company, the question to ask yourself right now is, where are you comfortable and how can you break out of the comfort zone to continue to push yourself? Because money is not the answer. I coach guys that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars out there. They have the same problems that you and I have, right?
mm,
And if you think money's gonna solve all your problems, you're missing the point. Is you are the problem. You are the problem. If you're not willing to solve yourself, then no amount of money is gonna solve you. And you see that in the TV all day long with the celebrities who are depressed, who are in drugs, and they have all the money and they have all the fame. But the problem is that they're not fixing themselves on the inside. I guarantee you, if you start looking at the energy that you're shooting from the inside, you start looking at investments in a different way. You start attracting opportunity in a different way. You start seeing things from a different perspective. And that's the key. If you start every single day with gratitude, saying, "Man, I'm grateful I have health. God is taking care of me." From that place, you have to feel worthy of abundance. And I think that's one of the things that I've worked on in the past, Gary, is feeling that worthiness, on not putting a ceiling on myself, not putting a ceiling on what I could do. Because some of us, because we come from a certain background, we think like, well, that's not for me. That's for this guy. This guy's got lucky. No, like right now, like all bets are off. And right
mm.
now, like we see right now what happened with GameStop. All these people in the internet are changing the game. Right now, all bets are off. The people right now have the power. Why? Because we have the information is no longer secret. Information is out there. All we have to do is go out there and get it.
Awesome. You mentioned, and I'm glad you said this, but you mentioned that money not being the actual thing of success. What would you classify? What would you say success is?
Success for me is being able to get up every single day and be happy doing what I'm doing. That
Mm,
if I created my company right now when I ask myself this question: what would I be doing? What can I do if I could just look at myself in the mirror and said, "Man, I get paid for doing this. Like this is crazy. This is crazy. Like I get paid for doing what I love. I get paid for and that is, and then you're never gonna have to work in your life if you actually find something that you love, and you get it to the point that you're getting paid for doing what you love. So now in investments, I will say, when you start looking at your capacity of your investments, like don't look at them as, because I have real estate and I have investments, but I don't look at them as a tool for me to get more money. I look at them as a tool for me to be able to have more freedom and free time. Because for me, the most valuable asset is my time, is what I do with, like right now, for example, on a Sunday, right? We haven't done anything today. My wife is still in her pajamas watching movies all day because it's rainy, right? I would love to, I wouldn't do this every single time, but we love to do that because that's the time that we have with each other, right? So then, what do you do with your time? That's freedom. Being able to take care of your loved ones, that's freedom. So for me, all the investments are always thinking about how can I have more freedom to do what I love, and if I get paid to do what I love, then I feel successful.
That's awesome. Okay, one last question. So you talk a lot about legacy when you're teaching the brotherhood. What do you want to be remembered for in life?
Well, that's part of, when I talk about success. I think that, the biggest mistake that we make is we chase success, we chase money, we chase all these things, but we're not focusing on greatness. When I talk about greatness, is the mastery of it, right? The mastery of be able to create the life that you want. I don't think, people talk about how you could have it all. I don't. I truly believe that we already have it all within us. I just don't think that we look at this culture that we have right now, and all you guys that see here, we live in the United States, like we have it all. Like there is nothing that, other people in different countries, they're in a whole different game than us. So from that place, we have to stop chasing all the things, all the shiny objects, and start looking from the inside and asking ourselves, how can I tap into greatness? How can I tap into greatness? What is the greatness inside of me? If you believe in God or higher power, you're born with greatness. So my legacy for me is to have my kids or the people around me, or guys, who carry that, they will believe in themselves, and believe that they have greatness within themselves, because you can only see in others what you see in yourself. And if you see greatness in other people, it's because you see greatness in yourself. So if you start looking at wealth or investments, if you look at somebody that's wealthy and say, man, that guy, and be happy for that guy, and say, man, that guy's just like me. That guy is no different than me. And then you start seeing the mirror, because that's what we are. We all are mirrors. But the problem is that we start judging and pointing the finger and say, well, that guy got lucky, or envy, or animosity is created. So then you blacken the opportunities, you blacken the blessings. So for me, my legacy will be for men and people to remember who they are. Remember that they were born for greatness. Remember that they're here to lead. Remember that they're already abundant. So that from that place, they could actually shine the light and receive the blessings that they already have inside of them.
Great, great. So I know I'm not going to hold you up for too long because I know you're busy and you probably want to get back to your wife as well. But before we get out of here, for us as aspiring investors, is there one last piece of advice that you think that we should know as we're moving forward with crypto?
I was thinking about this before the call, and I said that the one thing that I would think it will serve you guys is to know that it doesn't matter how much money you're gonna make, or how much money you're gonna have, is not who you are. Like if you start looking at money as energy, like we all want to have. Listen, I'm the first one who wants to continue to increase investments, but the money doesn't make you. Is the process that's going to make you. So one thing that I would love for you to understand is this process that Kerry is taking you through is the biggest investment that you're going to make, because the biggest investment is you. You have to grow in order for investments to grow. You have to evolve. You have to start shifting your mind. You have to start changing. You have to start, seeing things from a different perspective. And let's say, we all invest in crypto, and crypto doesn't happen. Just this experience, we grew as a human being. We grew as I love what I'm seeing. William Simmons with your queen, with your wife in there. You growing as a couple. I mean, that is stuff that you cannot buy. That's an investment that you cannot buy. So if you start looking at investment, invest in yourself. Number one investment, invest in yourself. The moment they start investing in yourself, then all this stuff from the outside, just put it as, especially right now in this market, like make sure that you're not risking more than you could handle to come back. And that's the key. Don't risk anything that's going to put you in a place where you know that you cannot come back from. So the moment that, a lot of people are trying to get rich right now, and it's going to be dangerous because they're putting everything in one place. But if you know you could handle it, if you could handle the risk and say, okay, honey, I'm gonna lose this, but it's not gonna hurt us, or I'm gonna come back from it, go back at it again. Investment is always gonna be a roller coaster. It's how you manage the losses that are gonna give you the wins.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Can you tell everybody where they can find more information about you if they want to follow you or if they want to read more about you?
Yeah, I'm in Instagram. I'm in Facebook. You could go to my tag is Raul the Edge, and send me a DM and connect with me on Instagram. If not, go to my website, thenextlevelexperience.com. Would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. And I'll
Excellent.
see you tomorrow on the training.
And if you guys have any questions, I have a couple of minutes. I don't know if you have a Q&A, yeah, but open up any questions that you guys have, mine as well. We're spending a Sunday afternoon together. Let's make it worth it,
I would love that. Thank you. Does anybody here have any questions? If so, go ahead. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Nobody has any questions. Everybody's being shy.
All right.
I think they might be
So we're good. Away. We're good. All right. So it was a good presentation.
Awesome. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. How do you bounce back from loss? When we are going through this process that is a roller coaster ride, what's been your experience when things do take a dip and it feels scary? So how do you navigate through that?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially for women. What I've learned is that women value certainty more than men. Men value more the battle than that. So if you start looking at the mindset of a man, we were hunters, right? As a caveman, we're hunters. So for us, the hunt is the thrill. Women are gatherers, right? You guys will gather in the field. So for you, the certainty is a lot, that value scale is a lot more. So women handle risk different than men handle risk. When a man is losing, what happened to me, I lost everything, but I was like, okay, let me dust it off, let me come back. But I was afraid of what my wife was gonna think of me. So my fear wasn't about, hey, I lost money. My fear was like, she's gonna think I'm a failure. She's gonna think that I made a mistake. So as a couple, how do you bounce back is, number one, don't make each other wrong. Don't blame. Like, it's not his or her fault. It's just the market. A lot of people don't bounce back because they're not on the same page. It's like, I told you should have done this. I told you. You didn't listen to me. Even if you did tell them, like, understand is, the intention was there. So that's the first thing. As long as you're strong, you're together, you're going to be able to bounce back. And if you're individual and you take a loss, don't beat yourself up. There's zero upside on dwelling on past failures. Find the lesson, find the gift, and know if you're lucky that you didn't die from that situation, that you're still alive. And I believe that. I tell my kids all the time, everything has a solution in the world except for death. If you're dead, well, we can't solve anything, right? But as long as you're still breathing, we have a chance to figure things out.
Thank you.
Excellent. Good question, babe. Awesome. Anybody else have anything before our role gets out of here? All right. Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Thanks a lot, brother.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Likewise. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
All righty.